there has been significant controversy, I think it's fair to say, about the Riyadh Comedy Festival, where basically every top comedian out there, Dave Chappelle, Pete Davidson, Kevin Hart, Aziz Ansari, Bill Burr, the list goes on. They've all agreed to travel to Saudi Arabia and perform at this comedy festival. Obviously, Saudi Arabia is, the government there is one of the most oppressive in the world. And they have, let's just say, a poor record when it comes to supporting free expression, when it comes to just, basic humanitarian issues. And notably, of course, it was only a few years ago where Jamal Khashoggi was ordered, it was a gruesome murder ordered by the Saudi Arabia government because they didn't like his the things that he was writing and the things he was saying. So I think it struck people as hypocritical, to say the least, that these comedians who wrap themselves in supporting free speech, supporting free expression, are willing to turn another way or turn a blind eye to the abuses by the government. What do you make of the whole thing?
Well, and they're also willing to accept restrictions that Saudi Arabia placed on them in order to perform. So they weren't allowed to talk about religion, and they weren't allowed to talk about the royal family either. And so in essence, if you consider yourself, a truth teller as a comedian, one has to wonder about the ethics of it all.
Right. I mean, I guess comedians probably don't like to get into these weighty issues too much, but they say, a lot of times you'll hear a comedian say something extremely offensive in the US, right? And it's always, well, they're comedians. Their job is to make people feel uncomfortable. Their job is to say things, and occasionally they'll offend someone. But in this case, they can't make fun of the royal family in Saudi Arabia. They can't make fun of Islam in Saudi Arabia. So they are censoring themselves, and they are agreeing to rules that they would normally probably joke about and mock in the US. I don't know. I think it's quite hypocritical and striking, and also frankly shameful that they're willing to turn a blind eye to these abuses. I can't imagine ever taking a check from a government that orders the murder of a journalist. And I remember at the time that happened, there was all this, just general shock about it. And no one wanted to be in business with Saudi Arabia. But I think what you're seeing in a larger trend is the money is so much, it's so great that a lot of people are willing to just kind of ignore their really heinous record and open up their checkbooks to Saudi Arabia. And that's obviously what they want. They want to sanitize their record. They want to portray themselves differently than how the reality on the ground. And money, they have a lot of it, is seemingly the way they're going about doing this through the arts, through funding things like this comedy festival.
Well, and a lot of these comedians are very topical comedians. They talk about current events. They talk about politics very often. And so when you travel to Saudi Arabia and there are limitations on what you can and cannot say, I just don't see that set being authentic. It's purely for the money. And I don't see that as being, beneficial for them optics wise in the long run.
It's also a giant show too. Obviously the people in the crowd, it just feels like it's just this entire show. Everyone's going to like the set or say they like the set, because you're not allowed to not like the set because the government is very oppressive there. Right. So it was really interesting. Bill Burr was defending himself. And it seemed like he didn't actually understand the real criticism there, because he didn't really seem to address it from what I can tell. He was saying that he was surprised that people there were really excited to have him. And I'll read to what he said. He says, "It was a great experience to experience that part of the world and to be part of the first comedy festival over there. The Royals loved the show. Obviously, they love the show. Everyone was happy. Okay. The people that were doing the festival were thrilled. The comedians that I've been talking to were saying, dude, you can feel the audience wanted it. They want to see real stand-up comedy. It was a mind-blowing experience. Definitely top 3 experiences I've had. I think it's going to lead to a lot of positive things." And it's Bill Burr seems totally ignorant of the fact, or the reason why people are upset. No one's upset because the people there, want to see stand-up comedy. I'm sure they would love to have their country, be like a Western country where comedians are allowed to say things on stage and you're allowed to laugh at the government. But that's not the reality there. And obviously the reason people are upset is that they're taking this money, which, it comes with a lot of ethical questions, and he's not addressing that at all.
He's not addressing that. And it's going totally over his head that, yes, of course, people were happy because in essence, what you're doing is whitewashing the record of the country. You're distracting from the fact that they have these civil liberty abuses by, making them laugh. I don't think that's a fair assessment of like what it's like to live in Saudi Arabia by Bill Burr saying, oh, the crowd was super happy to have me.
Yeah, he also went on. He says that he was talking about when he flew into Saudi Arabia, and he says, quote, "You think everybody's going to be screaming death to America and they're going to have like fucking machetes and want to chop my head off, right? Because this is what I've been fed about that part of the world. I thought this place was going to be really tense. And I'm thinking like, is that a Starbucks next to a Pizza Hut, next to a Burger King, next to McDonald's?" And it's like, I don't understand how Bill Burr actually thinks that's what he was going to be confronted with. Like, it sounds like maybe he needs to improve his media diet if that's what
he also didn't disobey the rules they set forth. So why would he be the one who's in trouble when they invited him there and they're paying for him to be there? Like,
and he's agreeing to all the rules.
Yeah, it's going totally over his head. Like, had one of the comedians said something, that was edgy and like, really crossed the boundaries that were set for them and something bad happened, that would be an entirely different story. But that's not the case.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is it was very pleasant, when you are going there and you obey all the rules and you're basically following the script that they set for you. But what would have happened if Bill Burr would have gone on stage and mocked the royal family? What if he would have actually confronted them on their real record over there? What if he would have mocked Islam? Would he have seen a different Saudi Arabia, perhaps?
Right. Well, and that's what they've made their entire careers off of, too. Just being right on the edge of funny and offensive. And if you're not doing that, then why are you even there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to get a paycheck. I think that's what they're all kind of saying and alluding to. Tim Dillon, who was invited, I believe he was disinvited later, but I believe he said that it was basically a big paycheck. Pete Davidson, whose father died in 9/11 and is still participating in this, which I find shocking, said, "I just know I get the routing and then I see the number and I go, I'll go," which suggests to me it's all about the money for these people. And look, like, I don't want
But that makes sense for someone like Pete Davidson. He sort of has that, or he sort of likes that aura about him. There's a lot of people on this list who would consider themselves to be the first line of defense, essentially, in, a democracy. That they're allowed to say whatever they want because we have those freedoms. And it just is bizarre to me that they would agree to a paycheck, no matter how big it is, at the risk of their reputation.
Yeah, like, is Kevin Hart hurting for money? Is Dave Chappelle hurting for money? Like, Aziz Ansari, are you guys having trouble paying your mortgage or your rent or whatever? Like, I can't imagine ever compromising my own integrity in such a way for a paycheck, especially when these people, a lot of them, have more money than they know how to spend. So it's striking. But I don't think like we should like hold up comedians as like the guardians of democracy necessarily. Like, these people are telling jokes and they're doing stand-up comedy and whatever. But like, if you're going to wrap yourselves in free speech when you make offensive jokes and you're going to build your entire career making these kinds of jokes, then I just find it at the very least hypocritical when you sanitize your sets to appease a government that has this terrible record and it theoretically stands against everything that allowed you to become a famous, wealthy comedian. There's no world in which like these people break out as stars in Saudi Arabia because they would not be allowed to actually say the jokes that got them to where they are. And by basically playing a part for this government and sanitizing their record and participate in this comedy festival. I don't know. Again, I guess you could say it's shameful, it's hypocritical. I'm not really sure what the right word is, but it really makes you, at least for me, when I look at them on screen now, I won't be able to see, like, look away from the fact that they actually, I guess at the end of the day, don't stand for much except taking a paycheck, which is disappointing. Thank you for watching Power Lines. For more analysis and insight, subscribe to our YouTube channel down below, like this video, and you can watch more of us right over here.